My name is Malachi Sudol Nelson. As long as I can remember, I always enjoyed creating things. I guess it started when I was a little kid and I ended up ripping one of my stuffed animals open by accident. I ended up taking it to my mom and was crying, and I said, "Can you fix it?" And she looked at me and said, "No, you fix it. Go get the needle and thread and you can fix it. Sew it back together yourself." I ended up doing that, and 5 minutes later, I was like, man, that was so much fun. I want to do it again. I've been doing the clothing contest with Swaya since practically the day I was born. It exposed me to a lot of Native American styles. The way my parents are, they always collected Native American clothing from my grandparents and from relatives, so that way they could be handed down. Pretty soon as I got older, I started making it my own. Every time I make something, it's kind of like after I get finished, I automatically go, what can I challenge myself with next? And so over the years, it started off with breastplates, then to chokers and necklaces, to beading. And when I went to college, I wanted to get into acting. That was a lot of fun, and I was able to work in the costuming department. I had a great time working as an actor, but I always had that desire to create things that are tangible that I can wear. I've now started creating leatherworks, things like satchels, bags, purses, even armwear, so like things like a bracer, and I've begun integrating pieces of steel inlaid with things, mostly copper. I think it's amazing how you can take something that is just simple pieces of steel you can get anywhere, like a hardware store, and then bringing it, polishing it, crafting it, and making it look beautiful. You know, making simple steel shine like it's made out of gold. I've always been interested in knives though. I realized that I didn't just want to collect them anymore, I wanted to make them. Before that, I hadn't really had any experience with metalwork. As I went through the process of learning how to pin the handle and to shape the blade and be able to find out what angle was the best angle to be able to create the sharpened part of the blade, to even eventually learning how the best way was to temper the steel for the blade. Those are the things that I ended up learning. Eventually I got into making jewelry, and my experience with jewelry, I ended up learning that from in high school. And then eventually now I've revisited those skills and making rings, and I like the idea that I can do rings out of steel and put semi-precious stones on them. My main stones that I'm using now are the tiger's eye, jasper, a Picasso marble, and then different assorted glass beads that just look really elegant, and I really enjoy doing those. The term that usually best describes a style, my style, is reclaimed art, because a lot of my knives and jewelry are made out of steel that I've gotten from random sources. I try to use the whole idea of recycling, reclaiming, and I feel like that is a huge part about being Native American. When a Native American would go hunting or come across other tribes, they would trade for things, and a big part of that is being able to take something that is mundane and making it look pretty, making it look beautiful. Being an artist, I've been working in clothing and leatherwork and jewelry for so long that now I'm beginning to accept the challenge of moving into painting. And one of my biggest hangups was like trying to paint like my dad and my brother. And now that I've accepted the challenge of painting, I'm discovering that I don't have to paint like them, that I can paint in my own style and develop my own style. It's interesting because I'm really loving it, and I'm really feel like I'm beginning to develop my own voice in painting. Having gone through college, I think it was one of the biggest questions that we had is, what is art? And ultimately, for me, the answer was anything. Anything you do can be art. As long as you enjoy it, anything can be art.